They say power reveals who a man really is. Some wear a uniform or a badge and believe it makes them invincible, untouchable, like rules were made for others, not them. But every once in a while, life arranges a meeting where arrogance collides with quiet resilience, and the results leave everyone watching changed forever. This is the story of a single father, a war veteran who had lost almost everything, and a man with a badge who thought he could break him. What happened in that courtroom is something people still whisper about, a moment where truth, sacrifice, and courage triumphed over pride. Officer Daniels wasn't just a policeman, he was the kind who walked into a room expecting it to go silent. For years, he'd carried himself like the law was written in his favor, using his badge as both shield and sword. Neighbors feared him. Colleagues tolerated him. And those who crossed him often regretted it. He believed authority gave him the right to bend rules, intimidate, and demand respect that was never truly earned. One chilly autumn morning, Daniels pulled over a battered old truck outside a grocery store. The driver, a quiet man in his mid-30s with tired eyes and calloused hands, stepped out slowly. His name was Jack Carter. He wasn't just any man, he was a single father, a veteran who had survived the battlefield but was still fighting invisible wars at home. With a little daughter waiting inside the grocery store and bills stacked higher than his courage some days, Jack wasn't looking for trouble. But Daniels saw weakness. He saw an old truck with expired tags, a man with no wedding ring, and a worn-out jacket that screamed poverty. Instead of treating him fairly, Daniels unleashed his usual arrogance. He slapped Jack with fines he could never afford, threatened him with charges, and sneered as if the man in front of him was beneath him. What Daniels didn't know was that Jack wasn't just another broken soul. This was a soldier who had once stared down enemies in deserts far from home, who had held dying friends in his arms, and who had promised his daughter that no matter what, he'd never let the world break him. When the case finally went to court over the ticket and alleged resistance Daniels had fabricated, everyone assumed it would be routine. After all, Daniels had won every battle before. His badge made him untouchable. But this time, he was stepping into the wrong fight. The courtroom was small, filled with ordinary townspeople who had seen Daniels in action before. Some had been victims of his temper, others were just too afraid to speak. Daniels strutted in, uniform sharp, shoes polished, confidence dripping like oil. He thought it would be another easy day. Then Jack walked in. He wasn't dressed fancy, just a clean shirt, old boots, and the quiet dignity of a man who had nothing left to prove. But what caught everyone's attention wasn't his clothes. It was the way he carried himself. Shoulders straight, eyes steady, every step measured like he was still marching on duty. When the judge called the case, Daniels launched into his story, painting Jack as uncooperative, disrespectful, even dangerous. His words flowed smooth, but underneath them was the smugness of a man convinced of victory. He smirked at Jack like it was already over. But when it was Jack's turn, the room shifted. He didn't yell. He didn't accuse. He simply spoke. He told the judge about his service, about how he'd buried brothers in arms, about the promise he made to raise his daughter alone after losing his wife. He described that day at the grocery store, not with anger, but with heartbreaking honesty. And then he said something that made the courtroom fall silent. "Your Honor, I wore a uniform once too. Not to intimidate, not to make people fear me, but to protect them. The badge I carried then was invisible, it was called sacrifice. I didn't fight overseas so I could come home and be treated like an enemy by the very people I served to protect." The words cut deeper than any weapon. Even the judge leaned back, visibly shaken. People in the courtroom wiped their eyes. And Daniels, for the first time in years, felt small. His badge, once a symbol of power, now looked like a shield he was hiding behind. The judge dismissed the case, warning Daniels that his conduct was under review. But the real verdict wasn't spoken from the bench, it was written across the faces in the room. Respect shifted that day. People no longer looked at Daniels with fear, they looked at Jack with admiration. As Jack left the courthouse, holding his daughter's small hand, whispers followed him. Not whispers of pity, but of honor. He had reminded everyone what true strength looked like, not arrogance, not intimidation, but courage wrapped in humility. Daniels walked out behind him, the echo of Jack's words burning in his mind. For the first time, he realized a badge didn't make him untouchable. Integrity did. And he had none. This story isn't just about a courtroom, a badge, or a veteran. It's about the quiet battles so many fight daily, the struggle to stay honorable in a world that often rewards arrogance. It's about fathers who raise children alone, soldiers who return from war only to face new wars at home, and the truth that power doesn't come from titles or uniforms, it comes from character. And sometimes, all it takes is one single dad standing tall for what's right.